see.
Yeah.
This is good.
I mean, had the fried turkey. Yeah, just now you had obviously fried turkey.
The blind turkey, I just didn't think it.
Every week
It was
February, and I
juicy.
should have some into
Like
probably.
Kobe said, it's turkey.
Yeah.
And then city.
Well, I'm one of those weirdos, I
He's
like
got
dark.
bookings into August, doesn't he? He's got bookings into
Not
August.
everybody wants to like, you know, like,
So, I mean,
doing well.
2022.
Garden just got so much more flavor.
So it's just like a wreck.
And I'm the guy, I'll just, cut a turkey leg off and throw it on my plate.
Cities, everybody.
Wrap it in bacon.
And of course, when you have
Like,
people event.
Whatever, I haven't done that, but.
I like this.
Do you watch the show? February?
February, every weekend, and then
Hello?
we have at least one or two left through August
Okay.
22.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I will wait till you get here. Okay, well, Rebecca's not here either, so, yeah. Okay,
I should be there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Bob.
yeah,
Can you hear us?
all right,
I
bye.
can, yes.
That was Kim. She's on her way.
Did I have everybody sign this paper sheet? You got stuff over here.
There, Bob.
Hello. How is everybody?
We're well. It's not picking up that.
It's not. It's a blue ring, but I can't tell. It doesn't fluctuate when you talk, so I don't know.
Let me see. I think I need to do my settings on this. Here.
We're supposed to do this at 4:30 now. 4 o'clock.
Why is it not doing this?
So what do you say, guys? Well, we should get us all new iPads for Christmas?
Why not?
I couldn't use the little one like that. I had it. I decided to just use my own.
Let's do it real quick. All right, Bob, try that now.
I can hear you.
There we go. Now I just had to switch the speaker.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I had my speaker on my computer. not that.
Hello.
And Joey, do you want me to, I'm just gonna tab over for your slides, okay? So you give me a remote. that one.
So Kim said we don't have to wait for,
Okay.
so
She forget.
I'll let her explain it because
Better that way.
something to do with a mad vacuum frenzy. I have no idea. So I've never had just like a mad desire to clean things. So
I have every day.
Mhm.
I get it.
We want to get started in?
yeah, the only thing I want to know real quick is on the agenda, it says regular meeting. This is a special.
The special meeting, yes.
Okay, I will call the special meeting of the Newberry Recreation and Parks District to order at 5 p.m. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I was asking you guys, so I forgot to do it this time. Okay, and can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Jose Luis Godinez,
Present.
Edgar Castellan,
Present.
Ross Leisure,
Here
Rebecca Bedorte Byrne, and Kim Chow Johnson.
is on our way. Okay, do we have any presentations and recognitions?
Not this evening, Mr. President.
Okay, and how about public comments?
No, we've not.
No? Okay, does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I motion.
No, I motion, you second?
Oh, second.
All right, you have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, move on to board action items. Item 5.1 is the annual audit report of the Woodbury Recreation and Parks District prepared by Smith, Marion and Company for the fiscal year ending June 30th. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, that's essentially it. That is our annual audit. It's always an exciting time of the year. We do have representatives from Smith Marion to go over the audit with you guys, answer any questions you may have. They have a presentation prepared that I think they will probably hit most of this on. But I'd like to thank them. I thank our administrative team, Loretta, Marilyn, did a great job of preparing for this, and also Rick Gallo at our accounting firm. So to that team, I think it went pretty smooth this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug and Joey.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, so yeah, thank you guys for having us. It's always a pleasure. Familiar faces, new face.
New faces.
Two new faces. Three new faces.
Three new faces.
Okay. All right, well, welcome and thank you for having us. Yeah, so it's a pleasure working here, working with Loretta for a few years now, and they just do an awesome job. Very transparent, very timely, emails, phone calls, you know, you never feel like you're getting put off. You know, we're trying to get things done. We want to get the audit cranked out, get everything tested so that you guys have the January 15th. We have to turn in the financial transaction report to the state controller's office. So that's really the only deadline that the district has. So, you know, we want to get it done, get all that stuff sent over. So once we approve the audit report, we have the letter from the controller. So we'll go in there and upload all that stuff and get that done by January 15th. But always a pleasure working, you know, Kobe's very operational, knows everything that's going on. You ask him a question, he knows what's going on, what's moving. And that, like I said, easy to communicate, easy to get a hold of. You always appreciate that as an auditor. So I'm gonna try not to get too deep into these unless you guys have questions of the financial statements. I'm pretty much gonna kind of go off of the presentation that we prepared for you. And like I said, at any time, stop me if you have a question, anything you want me to elaborate on. I'm sure there'll be time after we do the presentation for you to ask us anything that you see in the audit report or any general questions. So, so we start off with the summary here. This is just let you know what the assigned team members. So myself, Doug Engelhardt, I'm the engagement partner overseeing the audit. I've been at Smith Marion going on 10 years now, licensed CPA since 2014. I have a CPA license in California and in Tennessee. I work a lot with, I have about 4 or 5 California districts, a lot of nonprofits. I mostly do affordable housing. So housing authorities, a lot of housing authorities, a lot of government. So when I do group, I'm very familiar with government funds, GASB, all of the reporting requirements that go along with government funds. This is my concurring partner, Kendra, so she's another partner in our Redlands office. She helps review the report. You know, we always double check each other's work, so Kendra helped on that. Cole's our manager, he makes sure things are getting done. He kind of pushes the project along. Miguel's a senior, so Miguel and Joey were the main ones helping doing a lot of the testing here this year. So Joey's a Cal Baptist graduate. He's working on a CPA exam. He's got 2 parts of the CPA exam done so far. And he's going, this will be starting in January, he'll be going on his 3rd year at our firm. And then we have Crystal, she's our coordinator. She's just our go-to if we need something scheduled or taken care of. So that's pretty much your audit team for this year. The services that we provided, kind of hard to see, small font, but we do the audit, obviously, of the financial statements. We prepare the financial statements and note disclosures just to help management out. Obviously, they take responsibility for the financials. They review the financials. They make sure that they understand the financials, any adjusting journal entries or any of that kind of stuff. But that's one of the services we provide are these financials. We prepare, management takes responsibility. And then lastly, like I was telling you about, we do your financial transaction report. So the annual filing with the state controller's office, we go in there and fill all that information out. And any back and forth with the state, if they have questions or anything, we take care of that. So that it's nice and smooth and they know what's going on and they get a copy of the audit report. So those are the services that we provide. Executive summary, so high level summary. There's one audit opinion on the financials. So basically, we're saying, whether the financials are materially correct and that you can, that they're fairly stated and that you can rely on these financials. And so we issued an unmodified opinion. So in auditor language, unmodified is a clean opinion. So there's several other types of opinions that we can give. If you get a disclaimer of opinion, an adverse opinion, those are opinions that you don't want. You want to get a unmodified opinion. And that's what we issued on these financial statements. That's going to be on page 2, the independent auditors report. That's where you'll find our auditors report saying that the financial statements are fairly stated. And there's no material misstatements in these financial statements from our testing. But go back real quick, let's cover back to the executive summary, just a couple of things. So I like to always, if we had prior year issues, this is a good spot to say whether they were cleared, whether they're ongoing. Last year, we had no prior year issues, no management comments that we had to communicate to the board and to management. So there was no follow-up that we needed to do. Additional communications, we discovered no instances of fraud or illegal activity during our audit, so none of that came up. Management represented to us that they weren't aware of any of those type activities as well. Full cooperation from management, as I stated earlier. We had no material audit adjustments, so that's really good. When you go to a client, you usually expect, when you're doing an audit, you expect to make some sort of adjustments. And when we go to a client and we don't have any audit adjustments, that means things are really tight. So that's thanks to Loretta and that's thanks to Rick, coming through and really making sure that those closed out financials that are provided to us for the audit, that they're all taken care of and adjusted, in accordance with our principles that we have to follow. Also, let's see, recommendations. So we usually issue a report to management, and in that report to management, we would say whether there were any internal control issues that we need to report, or any other general things that maybe areas for improvement or anything like that. And so the report to management we'll issue this year, there's nothing in there. It's gonna say, no deficiencies. Everything is great. There's nothing really to report. Everything's rocking and rolling just fine. So didn't come across anything that we felt like we needed to communicate. That's all taken care of. And then also another thing to communicate to you guys is whether there are new GASB pronouncements. So GASB stands for the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So they're kind of your financial standard setters. They're the ones that make you put the pension on the financial statements. They're the ones that make you put, if you guys had OPEB, and all the different kind of standards that we have to follow when we're writing the financial statements. That's going to be GASB. And so they convene all the time and they come up with new standards that we have to follow. And it's always a good time to let you guys know during the board meeting and on an ongoing basis, whether there are new pronouncements in the works or whether there's a new one that we need to get done for these current financials and might make a big change. If you remember, going from not having a pension obligation to having a pension obligation, I mean, we're talking about a couple $1 million adjustment to book that liability on your financials. So that would be something, right, that I would communicate to you. Hey, there's a new pension GASB coming out that we have to look out for next year, and there's going to be a big prior period adjustment to get that on the books, right? So nothing like that coming up that's going to affect. The only one that is coming up is leasing. Not a whole lot of leasing going on here. That would be material. So.
Now we're good.
Now we're good. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Joey talk a little bit about financial highlights for this year.
Okay, get on the right page over here too. Because some of those numbers are kind of small on the graphs, but
You need my phone.
so this year for Rupa, the total assets came out to be 72,800,000 something. And you can basically break the assets up into 4 major categories. There's unrestricted cash, which are available for use for really any purpose, restricted cash, which is restricted for a specific purpose, receivables, and your net capital assets. And so there's two major changes to the assets that you can notice this year from last year. And so the orange bar is going to be last year and the yellow one is this year. You can see receivables drop down to pretty close to nothing compared to what it was last year, at least. Last year being 2.5 million, this year being about 200,000. That's really due to a couple of projects that were completed this year. It's the Horseshoe Lake Park. It's on the photo right there, and then that one Skyview Event Center. Yeah. And so it's due to those being completed and all those funds that were being made available to fund those projects being received, that receivables is low this year because those funds are no longer coming in. They were already received. Same with net capital assets. As you can see from last year to this year, the change is quite different. Last year it being 54.8 million, this year being 61.2. That's because those projects were completed and they were capitalized. So now that's showing on the net capital assets portion of the balance sheet. And we'll go to the next. So total liabilities came out to be 2,032,704. And so the three major sections of the liability section are going to be debt, accounts payable, and pension obligation. And so debt remained the same for this year because according to the agreement for paying it off, it's due to any receipt of special taxes. And so since those weren't received this year, there was no obligation to pay down the debt. And so that's why the numbers remains the
If I
exact
could
same.
jump in real quick, just for our newer board members, that has to do with the construction of Vernola Park, the original Vernola Park.
And so moving on to then accounts payable, where as you can see, there's quite a big difference here. Last year being 2.8 million in accounts payable, and this year being only 159,000. It's also again related to the Horseshoe Lake Park and Skyview Event Center. That those amounts are no longer payable because those projects are completed. And so pension obligation remains very similar, which is in line with what our expectations would be. So revenues for the year were $13,013,028. The three major sections that you can break revenues out into the charges for services, taxes and assessments, and capital grants and contributions. And so charges for services, you can see increased quite a bit. This is related to I'm drawing a blank.
Developer impact fees?
Yeah, the developer impact fees, that's the word for it. And so so based on this year, a lot more of those were received in an effort to fund the final kind of leg of the seventh inning stretch in a sense of completing these parks. Taxes and assessments remains very similar to last year, and then capital grants and contributions. Last year there was a major capital contribution that was also for the purpose of the parks. And so this year, having not received that specific one, that portion of the balance of the income statement and revenues is substantially lower than what it appears as last year. And for expenses, these are pretty straightforward, not a lot of changes here compared to last year. As you can see, expenses for the year were 5,731,526. Salaries and wages, pretty similar, nothing unexpected there. Employee benefits, same thing. Services and supplies went up just so slightly, just by a couple $100,000, and then depreciation remains the same. And so finally, a comparison of net income from the previous few years. And so one thing you may notice is that it looks like in fiscal year 20, that there was a lot more revenues and net income. And so kind of as previously mentioned with that capital contribution that was received in the prior year, that's why revenues aren't as high this year and they were so much higher last year. And so total expenses for the current year have also gone up a little bit, which ultimately causes the change in, you see such a big difference in net income from year to year. But, you know, the financial health of Harupa is pretty good considering, you know, they're retaining about $7 million after all their expenses. So I'm going to give it back to Doug.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joey. Yeah, so just to kind of summarize a little bit, you know, fiscal year 20 was a really big year for revenues and expenses. Now, most of those revenues went towards capital projects, right? We saw that huge increase in capital projects because of the two parks. So a lot of that money came in, but it went out to build those and to put them into operation. So you see that net income is not like Harupa kept that as cash, right? That got converted over into these assets that you guys have now. Restricted cash. Let's go back to restricted cash real quick. Restricted cash this year was $7.7 million. That's for the maintenance fund, and that's for, so you got the maintenance, and then you have the CFUs, the general fund. We have one for maintenance, and then what was the CFUs? Yeah, what do we call those? Sorry.
Using counting terms now, that's where I get lost. I use cold math.
We have a breakdown in the financial statements that shows what that is, but I just want to kind of, you know, $7 million of restricted cash.
Or on their taxes as well.
What is that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so CFD capital outlays, right? So we have $4.5 million restricted for maintenance in our maintenance funds. And then we have $3.2 million restricted for capital outlays. Capital outlays being, you know, more park type projects, right? So that's what that $7 million is restricted for. Yeah, and expenses pretty similar. You're going to see an increase in services and supplies because you guys have new parks that you have to maintain and that kind of stuff. Salaries actually dropped a little bit, so that's pretty good. And then depreciation is just an accounting thing. You can't really control that expense. That's a non-controllable expense. Depreciation is just, we have to depreciate the assets over their useful life. So that's not anything that you can really control. So you see from 19 to 20 to 21, we ramped up really hard in year 20 with all those capital grants coming in, and now we're starting to kind of settle back down into a norm. So that's what you'll see when you're looking at the financial statements. These other slides is just some general stuff that I would like to give to you guys to maybe take and read and kind of get a little bit of understanding of some of the stuff that we do, you know, the scope of services, our audit approach. So this slide here just kind of walks you through, you know, what are we doing with the audit, you know, our planning, and then our field work, and then our exit conference that we have with management and things that we talked about. So just good general information. If you guys, I try to make it quick, try to make it summarized, so it's not, you're not reading a whole book about it, but get a feel for what we're doing when we come and do the audit, right? And then I think we have a couple of things just about our firm. I'll be really light on that. Is we've been in business for 35 years. Well, we're getting close to 40 years here in a little bit. We have 10 California special districts that we do. We have a ton of governments that we do. Like I said, I do a lot of housing authorities all across the country, so I'm very familiar with Gatsby. We have 15 audit team members. We have 10 in Redlands, and then we have another 5. We have actually have another office in Nashville. So we have a kind of sister office out in Nashville, and they have 5 audit employees as well. And then out here, we have 2 partners, myself and Kendra. We do California special districts, so we kind of work together and, you know, always throw things back and forth and figure out, you know, what's anything new coming out, and, you know, take a look at this. So we have two partners in the Redlands office that are local, that specialize in doing California special districts. And I think that level of service, just something to say, you know, we try to be responsive with you guys. We give ourselves a 24-hour deadline at the very longest to try to respond, make sure that things are taken care of. We care about a relationship, you know, make sure we're communicating with the board. If the board ever has any issues that they want to talk with the auditor straight with, you can get my number, you can get my email, and if there's any concerns, you can communicate directly, right? I'm the auditor, I'm supposed to be communicating with the board, you know, and letting you know how management is doing, whether we have issues with management. Obviously, I have to work alongside with management. They're doing an awesome job, I can tell you that. But, you know, I'm really here audit for you guys and for, you know, the constituents and everyone that lives in the district, so we can report on this information and upload it to the website with our transparency and all that stuff, so. Yep, and we have 4 partners. So with that being said, was there anything in particular, you guys review the financial statements that you'd like to kind of delve into a little bit or for me to discuss?
I just have a general comment, being a newbie, but I do have 3 years left after this year. How cumbersome would it be to, as opposed to using acronyms to spell out what it is? I do have a problem with that, and I thought, well, I have to backtrack, I have to go forward, but I don't want it to be cumbersome when I read the report. Would that be something that you can do as opposed to acronyms, using the full name of what we're talking about?
In the financial statement,
Yeah,
so.
wherever appropriate. I mean, I don't want
Right.
to put more onto it, but just the acronym seems to be my difference.
Right. Yeah, we're so used to
I know.
that lingo, and you know, so if there's anything in particular that needs, when you feel like that the note isn't clear enough or you're having a hard time following it, we can clarify that and break it out.
Well, I also, like I say, being a newbie, I think anybody coming in there after me and continuing, that really is helpful. I find, like I say, acronyms, everybody speaks to it, and I think, well, I have to think twice about that. Once I get engaged to what we're talking about, it's easy enough. So that now I know to look for no deficiencies. That's a May report card as I see it. So that is great.
Exactly.
I, for one, feel the same about Loretta and Chloe, as you say, so I feel comfortable with that. But that little piece that I just said was the only part that I was wanting to see how much you can do to that. But if I need clarity, you know, I can.
Yeah, it's understandable. If we use acronyms in the financial statements, we always write out the full thing earlier in the financials. I know it's kind of a pain to have to go look, but maybe if you have an electronic version of it and you do a PDF control find, and you type in, maybe I said it says GASB in it, like, what's GASB, right?
Right.
You just put in GASB in the PDF search and it'll find the very first, and it'll say Government Accounting Standards Board. And then we use GASB because, I mean, some of these it might make the report extra 3, 5, you know, how many more pages putting all these things, and we shorten things to AICPA, you know, GAAP, financials, right?
Yeah.
All these kind of things, and we're just used to it because they get you know, very, very long-winded.
Well, I felt a little comforted when Colby may mention himself, well, wait a minute, that'll defer to you when we get caught into it. Now, what am I speaking of? Okay, but thank you, Noah. I feel very comfortable to report, very comfortable as to how you just presented it. I felt like you knew that I specifically was a newbie because I understood what you said, so thank you.
Not a problem. Yes, sir.
Very report. For clarification, you mentioned for restricted cash, there was 7 million
Yes.
for capital outlays projects. What makes them restricted? Is it their state funds, specific?
This is the type of funds that they have. So our maintenance assessment district being the one, correct?
Yes.
We can only use that on maintenance assessment. And the other one is capital outlays, or what we refer to as development impact fees. We can only use that for new construction. We can't do that for operational costs.
Okay.
Yeah, certain revenues that get collected by the district are for special assessments, right? Everyone in the area, you know, they took a vote and said, okay, we'll pay the special assessment if these parks are maintained, or, you know, certain things. So now they're getting charged on their mortgages. The Riverside County is collecting that and sending it over to them. You know, they can't use it for just any kind of salaries of the district, they have to use it specifically for maintenance, right? So that's the kind of,
Got it.
yeah.
Questions? No? Jose?
Yep, good.
I don't have anything either, so great report. And I will, nothing else can be said. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I just want to add, again, it's been great working with Miss Marion. Again, thank you to Loretta, Marilyn, and team for keeping up. I think the bottom line, the number one thing to look at is, coming out of the pandemic year that we had there, as scary as it was, we still finished in the black,
Yes.
which is, I'm always putting a little bit of bullets there at the very end just to make sure, but again, I'm sure Doug and his crew is gonna see this for the next year or two as we recover. It's still turbulent waters out there right now, primarily because of our recreation activities, and we are being very mindful of our budgets going forward, and watching these numbers. So when we're back here again next year, we're hopefully in a similar situation. So just want to kind of add that to it.
And I'd just like to say, after listening to these reports from you guys for the past 5 years or so, a couple of them not on the board, but I've always attended the meetings. I still don't understand all the acronyms. I have to go back and look them up sometimes. So they tend to change sometimes too, it seems like. to
Yes,
me.
they do. Yeah, you'll hear me saying, GASB 68.
SB 34.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna challenge us a little bit. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Rule 34, rule 68.
Yeah, you have to have your Google ready.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us. I appreciate the business. I love working with management, and the board's always awesome. So you guys keep up the good work and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Ross, you wanted a motion?
Yes,
I move that the Board of Directors accept and receive the annual audit report of the Rupa Area Recreation Park District prepared by the firm of Smith, Marion and Company, and the management discussion and analysis letter MD&A for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. I second.
motion second. Is this roll call or is this all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
That letter.
I will, I'm gonna send me the final without.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. You'll have it either tonight or tomorrow.
I have to send you the management representation letter. I'll send it in right signature or electric. You just do it and send.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
Too.
Good night.
And I'm just going to take this opportunity real quick to put in the record that Mrs. Johnson arrived at 5:07.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that based on that call?
No, it's actually based on my
Okay.
iPad.
That
That
clock's
clock's a
totally
little fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, I didn't want to say it and interrupt the report, so. Let's move on to 5.2, which is the second reading adoption of the ordinance of the Board of Directors of the Rupa Area Recreation and Park District for annexation number 27 to its Community Facilities District number 2016-1. Mr. DeWitt.
Yes, like as you just said, this is the second reading for annexation 27,
I know, I was
2016-1. This is a commercial property located at Market and 24th Street, approximately 21,000 square foot of warehouse. It's not warehouse, but commercial building. So
Commercial or industrial?
it's a commercial industrial. I believe it's some sort of truck repair facility. So, and this will be the second reading of this and completing the process. So I'm available. Lynn and Bob are on the phone as well if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? Anything that Bob or Lynn would like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm fine.
all right, then I will move that the Board of Directors adopt the submitted ordinance for annexation number 27 to CFD number 2016-1.
I second that motion.
And this one is a roll call?
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Jose Luis Godinez,
Yes.
Edgar Castellano,
Yes.
Ross Leja,
Yes.
Rebecca Bedorte Byrne,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye.
Okay, let's move on to item 5.3. Right, I always read the whole thing. Want me to read the whole thing or?
You do the staff report for me?
This is the SB-165 Annual Local Agency Special Tax Accountability Report for the Community Facilities Districts for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. Yes, you may give a staff report.
Yes, and I will turn most of this over to Lynn. This is her report, but this is our annual report essentially regarding our expenditures in regards to the CFDs. That's something that we have to file annually. So with that, Lynn, if you want to take it away, so I'm sure I'm gonna butcher all of it.
Sure, yeah. It does include all of the CFDs. This is backward looking, so it's fiscal year 2021. We tried to put a little bit more into the report than's required by law. Maybe we shouldn't, I don't know. But because the district has so many CFDs, we include a little bit of a summary for each of the CFDs. And then we include the accounting, and at the end, we include maps of all the CFDs with the various different development statuses of the CFDs. So I don't know if you want to show the report or if just open it up for questions, whatever works for the board. You can see by the table of contents, because there's so many CFDs, it's quite lengthy.
Yeah, I think
Has everybody had a chance to
Yeah,
go through the report?
yes, I really did. So
Are there questions?
on the whiteboard, it's just very lengthy.
No questions from anybody?
Not necessarily questions.
Well, go ahead. Comments?
Well, for example, CFD number 2005-1, our collections were 179,000, our expenses were 174,000. And we had an ending balance of just 1,396. That's always concerning.
You said that's 5-1.
Table 4.
2005-1 is the one that we basically transfer everything out of that in support of other CFDs.
Oh, is that for like lineage on heritage, et cetera?
Yes.
Oh, okay then, okay.
Yeah.
Then that makes total sense. Or do we have any others that are,
Not that are set up that way.
no, that we need to be concerned about?
4-1 is one that we are watching closely, as you guys remember from this current budget year when we approved it. There's essentially no transfer to a reserve account for it. It was the first CFD that the district had formed back in 2004, and it has a maximum 2% inflation rate. And as you guys are currently experiencing, inflation is exceeding 2%, and it is no longer keeping up. And that will be something we're having to look at closely here over the next couple of years as to, at some point, the general fund's going to have to most likely subsidize that CFD, or we completely use all the reserves up. So that'll be something we will watching over the next couple of years.
Anything else? Anything else you'd like to add, Lynn?
No, I don't think so. I think the report is fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But this is a source for part of that $7 million of restricted funds. You can kind of see that in the ending balances that carry over year to year.
And one thing that this report may be useful for the board members on land, and I don't know exactly, maps are at the end, correct?
They are.
So if you have a question really truly as to what is covered within one of the CFDs, these maps right here that I'm showing on the screen, I know right here, this is CFD 4-2. That's the Wineville corridor to I-215 corridor, or I-15 corridor there. If you want to know what is included within the specific CFD, this is a great source to kind of, as we talk about it, we throw out numbers all the time, 5-1, 7-1, 14-1, I know generally where they're at, but I'll refer to this just to make sure I'm hitting exact boundaries. If you guys ever have questions, this is probably the best document for you to easily retrieve that information and just for a reference material.
Okay. There's nothing else to add. I'll entertain a motion here.
I move that the board of directors accept and receive the local agency special tax annual accountability report ending fiscal year June 30th, 2021 to the district's community facilities district as required under the guidelines of SB 165.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
And second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Lan.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, next up is our communication reports, and that will be our general manager's report.
Yes, Mr. President, just a couple things I want to share with everybody here. I believe most of us were able to attend the State of the City this past Tuesday at Skyview Event Center. We received nothing but positive comments from people at the facility, just absolutely loving it, which we like to hear, obviously. We're all very proud of that facility, and it's nice to see that it's being used as we had hoped. I do for, I know Jose, Mr. Godinez was unable to attend, but we stole the show, plain and simple. The kids at the end of the video, they were,
Yes.
they were cute, and, you know, asking them what it is they liked about Harupa Valley in some form or another, reference back to us, but for many of the kids.
Yeah.
So that was very nice. They were from our after school program, which, you know, kind of helped lead them our way anyways. The ice cream I sent to them too probably helped.
That's great.
So, but that was nice to see. Last night we did have our market night out at Skyview as well. We had 64 vendors, which is the most we've had yet. It was great. Attendance was a little bit down. Nobody was upset or disappointed. Talking with some of the vendors with the time change, the ones that doing this professionally, they're starting to see it everywhere. So that was kind of our last market night until February anyways, with the holidays approaching. And then everybody just kind of the vendors, we pulled them on. They said, yeah, January, they need to recover. People just aren't in the spending mode necessarily. So we're gonna take January off as well and start up again in early 2022. Youth basketball skills assessment is in a couple weeks here. So that's looking really good. We're excited about that. Tomorrow is our last day of the Spark After School program at Del Sol Academy and Camino Real. The Harupa Unified School District was notified earlier this month that their federal grant that they have that applied to all the other schools in the district had been extended to those schools, and they would be allowed to offer basically free childcare through the grant. And they already had a contract in place with Think Together to operate that. It's somewhat of a blessing in disguise because it does free up some of our staff that we're trying so hard to acquire right now, that we can work in other programs. So while it's a great program that we truly do enjoy and that we were glad to be able to offer, you know, some of our staff would get a little bit of a reprieve as well. So we may end up still losing one or two of them just because of their schedules may not work with what we would need in help in other areas. So we're still assessing that. We still are actively recruiting as well. AYSO soccer season comes to an end this weekend at the Ranch Rupa Regional Sports Park, as well as the other youth sports leagues are all wrapping up right now as the Thanksgiving holidays come to an end. We've heard nothing but positive comments from a lot of the groups using our facilities. You know, our maintenance department, we've made some changes over the year, and we're really focusing on our field and improving our athletic fields primarily, and we're hearing lots of positive comments from them. So that's been very nice to hear that our plans and are working as we had planned. I'll send out to you guys that we started a turf rehabilitation program at Clay Park. That seed started to germinate and pop and grow. So it's nice to see. You know, anything like that, maybe your home yard, you always get one of those bare spot that's being stubborn for some reason, but staff's watching it closely, and come spring, I think that facility is going to look the best it's looking in probably decades. So we're really excited about that. I also want to share with the board, we will have a contract coming before you at our next meeting regarding our redistricting survey and study that needs to happen. Had a great talk with the consultant last week in regards to that, and very confident in their abilities, and we're bringing that forward. I know that's been a concern from the board, making sure that we can get that done and completed prior to our April 15th deadline of 2022. They've assured me we will have no problems in doing, they'll have no problems in doing so. as many of you are aware, over the last decade or so, there's been a number of cities that were essentially sued to go into districts and divisions and so on. So that's put a tremendous stress on the number of firms that are doing the service. And the reality is, there's not a whole lot of new firms doing it. So it's just really, increased their workload. I know the firm that we'll be using, he mentioned between now and the mid-April timeline, they have something like 500 board meetings, school board meetings, city council meetings that they'll be attending. Their caveat in taking on any new buildings is they will be doing any of our meetings via Zoom, unfortunately, just because they do have an Irvine office, but that's a couple hours of driving that they're able to dedicate towards other clients and other meetings and able to take us on. So, but that will be coming forward for as well. Otherwise than that, I think I'm gonna just kind of end with, my main focus the last couple of meetings, unfortunately, has been graffiti, vandalism, and so on.
And be light.
Knock on wood. I don't know, maybe it's the time change too, but things have slowed down a little bit. So let's hope it continues that way.
Good to hear.
Yeah. So otherwise, I'm available should you have any questions.
Yes, in January, I know we're not doing market night, but do we have any other event planned?
Snow day, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we have snow day, which is, I believe, the 10th or the 11th. We have us 8th. Yeah, we have our banners for that will be going up next week. So yeah, and just touch on that. We do have breakfast with Santa, which is the 11th. That's what I was getting it from. It is completely sold out already. So those banners that are around town will be coming down, and snow day will be going up. So
Thanks.
I'd also like to say, as a member of the Lions Club, the Lions will again be supplying a free pancake breakfast to everybody that attends Snow Day.
Yeah.
Forward to that.
Okay, thank you very much. And no other questions for Mr. DeWitt. We'll move on then to board comments, and I'm just going to go down the list and start with Mrs. Johnson.
I was at the State of the City, and I do think that we looked real good. Our facility looked good. Colby did a great job on the video that the city produced. I did not realize the children came from the after-school program, even better. And yes, virtually every one of them said that they loved going to the park. And it was, I think, an event that showed us at our best, and I really appreciated that. Speaking of that event, I thought for some reason that maybe I just didn't hear what you said, but I thought we were going to get the contract soon with
yeah, we in our
Chamber of Commerce.
first meeting in December.
Okay,
Or I guess
Okay.
one of the meetings.
yeah, our sponsorship contract okay, with the Chamber of Commerce. Very good. That was all.
Okay, Mr. Cadenas.
Yes, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the State of the City, but I heard all good things. I also heard all good things last night at our market night. That was really exciting. I always enjoyed the food there. Got some cool stuff there too. And yeah, I look forward to having more fun. And yeah, let's keep chugging along. We seem to be building up some inertia, and hopefully we can keep that up in this coming year as well.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Byrne.
Yes, I too was there in many ways. I enjoyed seeing everybody there, and we are really becoming, perhaps you've always been a tight community, but it just makes me happy that everybody does what they do and speaks with everyone. I went from table to table myself, and being a newbie, and at some point we'll stop saying that. But it was happy to see us there and being counted and being mentioned and bigger things. And I won't, go on and on about Colby, so let's move Colby from here. But everybody seems to just talk well, and I say, yeah, of course. Did you think of any other? So thank you, Colby, directly. I have a lot of ideas. I went to Branson, Missouri for my vacation and my birthday. And there were people there that also are involved with Parks and Recreation. So they gave me some ideas. I said, we're always open to that. I said, so let me take it down on paper. So I'm really looking forward to us again for another 3 years, but everything is moving smoothly. So I can't say enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Castellan.
Yeah, I was also there at the State of the City and same as well. We did still the event, being that we were at one of our facilities. And it was great kind of seeing Skyview in action, right? And how we were able to use the facility at its best and to its full capacity, and just talking with everyone, they all have great things to say about the parks, the board staff, everything that we're doing here in the district. So it's great that it reflected off at the State of the City event.
Yes.
And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to say too, State of the City went real well, and we not only got some great accolades from the kids, but we also had some great comments from Mayor Barajas about our joint projects, especially the Eddie Smith Center. And it just seemed like no matter who was speaking, we got compliments on the direction that we're going, the things we've done, and partnerships that we formed with other agencies. And that's always great to have a great working relationship with all the other agencies. Market night, again, maybe a little slower, but it still cost me money. So it is great. I think it's going to be something that we're just going to be doing for years to come, I hope. So, and that's what I'm going to say tonight. Do we have any future committee meetings that need to be had?
Yeah, actually, I'll be reaching out to Mr. Castellan and Mr. Godinez for after the Thanksgiving holiday here. We have received conceptual drawings for the linear park at Paradise Knolls that they're wanting comments on. I have requested some more information, but I should have back, so we can look at something that week after the Thanksgiving holiday. I'll reach out to the two of you and see what's available, most likely a late afternoon meeting. And we can get that started there. And then the first part of the year, we will be starting our budget cycle, as we always do, and also our Veterans Memorial Wall. We'll start up with our committee meetings for that.
Okay. Any board members like any future agenda items? No?
We'll
Okay.
wound up with a lot to do, but no.
In that case, I think we are done, and I will adjourn this meeting at 5:50. Thank you, Bob.
Comment.